this episode here at Eric Podcast. This episode is brought to you by us. We don't have a sponsor. We never do. I don't know why you thought we would, because we never do. But this is a bit more structured episode. We're doing top 5 animated shows of all time.
Well, top 5 American cartoons.
Cartoons.
We're not counting any anime or any anything else that's animated.
Yeah, we're just counting American cartoons. One of mine might not be American, but it's at least Western. I'm pretty sure it's American, but I'm not positive. So sorry if it's not. I didn't do any research at all. But it's at the very least Western.
Yeah.
Let's just jump into each of our respective number 5 picks. Eric, why don't you go first?
Okay. All right. So just going to go ahead and give a little bit of a layout of like how I rank these. I'm ranking these based on my own like personal enjoyment of them and kind of the impact the show had on me as far as like when I was watching it, how badly did I want to watch it again? Did I want to show it to someone else? All of these shows since the top 5 are really high quality. They all have, the excellent rating, if you will. But my number 5 is Gumball.
Number 5? Whoa,
yes.
What an upset. Seriously? That's number 5?
Yeah, well, because
Gumball is number 5.
Yeah, the reason that I'm ranking Gumball number 5 instead of higher is because, top 5 is still, that's like literally the best cartoons you've ever seen.
It's respectable, but 5, I thought it'd be higher.
Yeah, well, the reason I rank number 5 is because there's no storyline. So for me personally, as someone who likes to like get into a show and really enjoy the story and like, see the characters grow and develop, you don't see that in Gumball. Gumball is just like comedy, and it's like, it's like an American Dad or like a Family Guy, but just way, way better. But it's that kind of show where I feel like, at least for my list, all of my top 4 are shows with a storyline that progresses in advancing plot. So when I was ranking them objectively, I was like, shows that have a plot, I'm more likely to want to show to a friend because it's like, you got to like see this big reveal. You got to see whatever. With Gumball, it's just like, you should just have it on. If you don't have anything else to do or anything you want to watch, just put Gumball on and you're going to enjoy the episodes. So my number 5 is Gumball.
Dang, okay. I guess I should explain my ranking system as well. My ranking system is more like shows that really stood out to me in one way or another. So like if a show really stood out to me in animation, it made the list. Like if it's my top like animated style or whatever. And then if it's like the top show that like impacted me or my friendships or like the way that I view the world, like, the impact on me personally, that one got on there. And then like the top like comedy or whatever, just any like individual thing was super stellar, then I put it on the list.
Yeah. Since you ranked it that way, you should make sure to like distinguish with each one why it is there.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess it's not like the best shows overall, like maybe not the most well-rounded shows, but they're at least like some of my favorites based off of one aspect or another.
There's like something that makes them top 5 worthy.
Yeah. So my number 5 is Undone. It's an Amazon original, and it's just really stellar animation. It's really uniquely done. Like they had the actors acted out live action, and then they went over and like traced it. It almost seems like they traced it and color blocked it. And just watching the show visually, it's very like unique. I've never seen another show done quite like it. And it really just like, it's about like kind of like time manipulation in some scenes. So like she'll cut carrots and then she'll cut her finger and she'll be like, and then she'll like suck the blood off her finger and then realize that it wasn't even cut. And then she'll look down like the carrots weren't even cut. She's like, I just rewinded time. And she's trying to like save her dad essentially. It's just really well done. The story is great. You're like, I don't know, it's really, but the story isn't why I put it up here. It's the animation style. The story is also, it keeps you wanting more. Like it keeps you coming back too. It's not just a well animated show. The story is also like very engaging. Like the whole, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's really hard not to. It's just like, I don't know, it really encapsulated me and engaged me based off the style, like the trailer. And then the story was also good. And I was like, that's great. That's a number 5 pick right there. Definitely one of the best shows I've seen.
Okay. Undone. I've never even heard of that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I didn't really show it to anyone. I kind of viewed it as like a thing that I found, or like my dad found at least. And my dad and I kind of watched together, so I was just like, this is my thing. But I guess now it is to the internet and to you to watch
Yeah.
it because it's really a great show. That's my
Yeah.
number 5 pick.
That's I guess for me as someone who's like pretty much all my favorite shows I've watched with someone else.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of one of those things where I like, for me, shareability is such a huge part of a show because it's like as someone who likes to watch TV with other people, like I can't remember the last show I really watched all the way by myself. So it's like I like to have that ability to like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
So my number 4, might be another upset as far as like.
Is it gonna be an upset? Oh,
I feel like at least as far as like where it could be ranked, but where I felt like I kind of had to rank it in the end is BoJack Horseman.
Oh, dude, you're killing me, man. You're killing me.
So here's
what
the
are
reason.
What are your top 3? You're killing me.
BoJack Horseman. It was a tough decision. No, okay, wait. I think based on my criteria. Okay, based on my criteria, BoJack Horseman is probably number 3, actually.
But we'll keep it at number 4 for, because you already said it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, really, based on my criteria, I'd say BoJack Horseman's number 4. No, maybe number 3, but it's really iffy. Yeah. Like, for number 1, I had a tie, like because they're just different. Yeah. But I'll go ahead and say now, BoJack Horseman, I just lost the train of thought. Okay, so BoJack Horseman is an amazing show. It's an excellent show. It's an adult, like, kind of themed show. Like, it's real world things, except it's just animals. But it allows for them to take a really unique lens when they're telling the story because you don't get so bogged down with, like, race or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're still able to have it present in the show. But it's much more like ambiguous, and it's kind of like when they want it to be there, it's there, and when they don't, it's not. And you're just totally like focusing on the characters and like them, the way they are. So I really like that about the show. I think on pretty much every level of like a good show, BoJack Horseman executes.
Yeah.
Like it's funny. Each episode is like interesting. Like could stand alone as like something worth watching. Mm-hmm. Although it's definitely something that you don't put it on. Like it's not like American Dad or something like that where you just throw it on in the background. You actually watch it, like But I think if you actually want to watch a show and like see character development, see change. Also, there's some really interesting like philosophical stuff the show explores that you and I were able to talk about, and I think that's something really good. It's like when you can watch a show and then like talk about it. Like it makes you want to talk about it. BoJack Horseman does that a lot. And it's just trippy to watch sometimes because, you forget the fact that you're watching anthropomorphized animals, like living out these lives, and you're just like sitting there, like having a deep philosophical discussion with yourself in your room, and you're like, wait a minute, like this is a cartoon, right? Like it'll make you think like that, and that's what I think really, makes it, warrants it a spot in the top 5. Because I would also. BoJack Horseman would also show up in my top 5 shows all time.
Yeah.
Because it's just like live action too, because it's one of those shows at that level. Yeah. So that's why BoJack Horseman's my number 4.
All right. Man, that's such an upset. I thought that was easily going to be number 2 or 3, but I guess, maybe it'll move up as you reveal your number 3. My number 4 is Gravity Falls. It's a bit of like a weird pick because rewatching it, if you watch it like all at once, like if you just binge watch it like on Disney Plus or whatever, you're not gonna get the enjoyment that I got out of Gravity Falls, which was like they would release an episode a week and then they would take breaks for just months, and you wouldn't really know when the breaks were gonna happen necessarily because they were just gonna be like, all right, we're going on a break after this episode, and you're just like, what? After that, like just talking with my friends. I mean, it came out while I was in middle school, so I was like geeking out about this show.
Yeah.
And, like, we had our theories. We had, like, paper, and we put pen to paper. We were like, what is what in this show? Like,
Mm.
just completely getting involved with my friend group. I think it was definitely what brought together one of my friend groups, the Quad Squad, as we call it ourselves. I think that was definitely what brought us together, was this show of just like, it really, for a kids show at least, it really made you think about what was going on. Like, it wasn't necessarily a passive watch. It was a fun watch. It was a, funny show, but it actually made you think about like what was going to happen next. Like, it kept you engaged episode to episode. When a new episode released, you were there. You were on the couch. At that time, on that day, you were on the couch. You know, so I definitely think that's why it's my top four. It's just like, I don't know. It really brought me together with my friends, and just like, I don't know. It was less of a show to me and more of just like an experience that eventually included a show, or like at some points included a show, where you just get
Yeah.
to like talk and mull it over and over with your friends, like who's Bill, who's the twin brother, or like who wrote the journal or whatever. And you're just like,
Yeah.
you know, time and time
Yeah.
again, you just keep on coming back and just talking about it, rewatching the episodes to find things that you missed. It was just a really great experience.
Yeah. I think for me personally, like that's on my honorable mentions list,
Yeah,
because I did experience it in the way you described. Sorry about the yawning. I don't know what's going on. But I watched, the whole show in literally like a day and a half, with
yeah,
Keon. And I could definitely tell binging it, like this is the kind of show that with time only gets better. Because there were so many episodes where there'd be like a bombshell cliffhanger or something really interesting, and you kind of like, if you were watching it week to week, you'd stop and think, and you'd have to like have that in your brain, like eating away at
yeah,
your consciousness of like what's going on.
yeah,
But for us, it was like next episode, and like
yeah,
because we were just binging the show, we experienced it in honestly a pretty biased way of like purely how good is it episode to episode to episode, no time in between. So some of the mysteries and some of the Easter eggs and all those things we didn't even really get into because we were so busy binge watching the show,
yeah.
kind of looking for the big payoff. And then it's like when you finish it, I felt underwhelmed
Mm-hmm.
because it's only 2 seasons. It's such a short show to
Yeah,
where at least if you're binging it, it's like it's just over. And it's like I wanted more content. I wanted like more mysteries, more
yeah,
questions, all that stuff. And I was like, see, if I was watching the show organically, I would have had all those things because there
yeah,
would have been so much more time to talk about it, to let the suspense build and all that stuff. But when
yeah.
you're binge watching it, it kind of deflates the payoff at the end.
Yeah, I mean, entire YouTube channels were built around Gravity Falls theories and like what's gonna
Yeah.
happen next. Like, even as an episode released, like 10 people would be on top of it immediately, just like making YouTube videos, making conspiracy theories. How does this fit? How does this change our theory?
Yeah.
Definitely think it's a show that was kind of stifled by the age of like streaming, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
binge watching. I think it was definitely stifled by that. But I'm glad it came out when it did, because if it came out now, it'd just be like, oh,
It's
you're
another kid's
releasing,
show.
yeah, like one season every, year or whatever, at a time.
Mm.
There's really nothing to talk about, but it's episode by episode, beat by beat.
Yeah. It came
Really
out at the
good
right
show.
time.
Dog, you are really tired. Do you need to take a nap? You seem
Dude,
really
I'm not
sleepy.
tired. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know what yawning is, but I sometimes I start having yawning fits and I just yawn,
Dang.
and I'm mid attack right now.
Yeah.
But all right, so
Cut that out. Like, you
yeah.
talking about yawning. But all right,
So next we've got
number 3.
number 3. All right, so for number 3, you know what I'm saying? We've got now my number 3 is kind of probably controversial to myself even because it could be number 4. It could also not even be on the list. It's like it's kind of weird, right? Because it's a show that I watched pretty regularly, week to week for a long time.
Oh, I think I know what it's gonna be.
Yeah, then I kind of fell off. And then, I kind of randomly got back into it as Keon, my little brother, was watching it. And I was like, maybe this needs a bit more time, and I went ahead and just watched it and like finished out like the back 4 seasons or so. And it was super enjoyable in the fact that I could have it on in the background and pay attention like halfway
Yeah.
while like doing some schoolwork and stuff like that, and still get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got into like the later seasons, I would literally just like put my phone away and just sit there and like stare at the TV, like, just totally locked in.
But
And
what
once
is
again, it's Adventure Time.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because the thing about Adventure Time is, I think a lot of like me, like Tyler, a lot of people our age group saw like the early seasons of Adventure Time on Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, hey, this is pretty cool. This is pretty fun, And it was like one of those shows that would come on and you would watch it and it was like heat,
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like always enjoyable to see. And I think what for me kind of pushed it above BoJack Horseman wasn't so much that the subject matter or even the execution is better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that there are more seasons. And as someone who likes to binge watch shows or who likes to just like, I love content when I like something, like when you really enjoy something, it's hard if it's executed well for there to be too much content. Like I'm very rarely the person to go, oh my God, not another one. Some of my favorite book series have like 10 books in them, which for a lot of people, that's like too many books. They'll read like the first 3 and be like, like I get it, whatever. But for me, I'm the opposite. I want the content. And with Adventure Time, what I like about it is I was able to like totally stop watching it and just forget about it for like years and then return to it and find myself really enjoying the show again.
Yeah.
And, the later seasons, they start exploring like an actual plot instead of just going, random adventures every episode. And with that central plot going on, it becomes even more interesting, of course, because you're more invested in the characters and what's going on.
Yeah.
And then, there's like the big payoff at the end with the finale, which was really exciting to watch, although it was a bit disappointing, to be fair. I think it was like unnecessarily kind of, like there's a video on YouTube called The Unnecessary Tragedy of the Adventure Time Ending.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the way it ended, it just didn't have to be so bleak, I guess, the way it kind of closed up. But I thought it was interesting. I've matured a lot, obviously, from when I like first saw the show on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is kind of like, this is just more real. This is like, honestly, kind of just like it, in cartoons, whenever there's not like the perfect ending and everyone doesn't like get away okay and everything isn't like rainbows and sunshine, people will get frustrated. But it's like, that's actually how the real world is. Like, no wars are won with no bloodshed, stuff like that. So
I think for the Logan debate right here. Do you want to start the Logan debate?
No.
Do you want to start that debate right here?
But yeah, but there's levels to this junk dog. Like here's Adventure Time, like on the like level, and then Logan's like 2 miles that way. But yeah, so the finale, I enjoyed it. And what I, as a member, and this might be kind of unfair, but I also gave it a slightly higher ranking because of the fact that they're still making content. Once again, they're still making stuff. They're making.
Are they?
Yeah, have you heard of the Adventure Time Distant Lands?
Mm-mm.
So it's really cool. They're making 4 movies, like 4 1-hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
Each following different characters after the events of like the final conflict in the show. And I can't like. Do you mind if I like drop a spoiler like for you?
I mean, like not just for in general. We can try and keep this spoiler free.
Okay. Well, I'll put it this way. There's a lot that happens in like the last like 10 episodes of Adventure Time. Yeah. And if you're a true fan of the show who's kind of been with it from jump, you're going to be really curious, like what happens next? Like what's going, that's what I always find myself asking, what happens next? Yeah. And when a show answers that question, I'm only ever happier for it. So Adventure Time is doing that in a really interesting way. They're going to do 4 1-hour-long episodes, and they're all going to be on HBO Max because I don't know how much you know about this, but HBO Max is trying to be like the future of cartoons. They're pushing really hard, with shows like Infinity Train, which is supposed to be like one of the greatest cartoons like ever by, according to some people. and that's getting, it's coming out right now on HBO Max. And Adventure Time is going to be doing that similar move.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these are going to be an hour long, and they're going to be a little bit more like, apparently they're going to be rated like TV 14 instead of TV Y7, because HBO Max is allowing for a little bit more freedom and mobility. And there's a particular reason why that's necessary. There's a certain relationship, no big spoilers, but it's something going on that Cartoon Network would never approve and HBO Max has no problem with. So they're going to be exploring that in an episode, and I'm really excited for that episode. So
that's your number 3 pick. All right. Definitely sounds good. I don't know how that's going to be. They did that with Samurai Jack. They brought it back for one last season. It was like TVMA even, maybe. It was on Adult Swim. That didn't end well for a lot of people. But I don't know, maybe Adventure Time will be different. Who's to say? But my number 3, and this might be a bit surprising to you that this is number 3 instead of like number 2, but BoJack Horseman. All the same reasons you said, essentially. I mean, we talked about it.
Yeah.
I picked it up after my parents told me not to watch it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch it. I watched it all the way through season 1 and 2. And then, 3 came out, 4. And I mean, we stuck with it till the very end,
Yeah.
I think it was definitely one of the shows that impacted the way, especially the way it ended. It was just like, wow, that was the perfect ending. And you were saying more content may equal a better show in this case. Definitely.
Well, I don't think so, BoJack Horseman, yeah.
Well, they did make a spinoff, but it didn't do well.
Are you talking about Two Gun Birdie?
Watch it. Yeah.
Well, Two Gun Birdie is actually supposed to be really good.
I've never watched it.
I didn't either, but they say like for what it is, it's pretty good. Like if you look up like best cartoons of like the last few years, a lot of lists have Two Gun Birdie on there.
I'm gonna have to give it a look, but BoJack Horseman definitely just like, there's not much that I can say that I'm just like, get crazy excited about, because it's such a somber show.
Yeah.
Such a like real show.
Yeah, and the humor is very deadpan, especially early on.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a good show.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not like super lighthearted. It definitely keeps it realistic and like, I don't know, it hits you.
Yeah.
It hits you like a bag of bricks, and you're just like, whoa, flip. That's just like, that's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 3 pick. It's honestly, it should be higher, I think, but there's a difference between my favorite shows of all time, where it would probably be higher, and my favorite cartoons, because I think it's much better as just a show than it is as just like
a cartoon.
I kind of think of those as separate things.
Yeah, another thing is, for the cartoons, we have a lot of nostalgia playing into the role, where BoJack Horseman is more recent, and it's like it doesn't have that nostalgia factor. It's more of just like, it's a more recent story. It's more like, if anything, it has like the recency bias, where like you've seen it, if anything, it's like we could be ranking it higher than it deserves because we've seen it recently, but I definitely don't think that's what's happening.
Yeah, I definitely don't think so. It's one of the best shows to come out, in the past few years.
Yeah.
For sure. But that's my number 3. BoJack Horseman.
All right, so my number 2.
Number 2.
We've got a show that Garrett doesn't even like. Garrett, he's pretty fake.
Okay. It's not that I don't like it. It's that the episodes that I watched, I didn't enjoy at all.
Yeah. It's a show that sets a vibe. It sets a tone. The reason I'm giving the show number 2 is because I like, this wasn't even one of my criteria, but when a show makes you like feel something, like really feel something, that's always a cool thing. And the show is Steven Universe. Steven Universe is to me, it's just an amazing show. And when you watch it, there's music, there's a lot of songs throughout the show, and it's such a huge part of the show. To me, that's what puts it ahead of Adventure Time, ahead of BoJack Horseman, ahead of all those shows. There's just not music in those shows like that, not in the way of like characters singing. I mean, it's like, like a Disney movie. Characters are singing a song specific to whatever's going on. And I think, music for me is one of the biggest parts of how I experience anything. I think it is for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it's one of those things you always talk about, movies and TV, is how is the soundtrack? Well, in Steven Universe, not only is the soundtrack is in the background music amazing, but the characters actually sing songs about things. And to me, like that I just love that. As someone who loves and has seen like every Disney princess movie ever, like pretty much every Disney movie since like, the 1990s, I've probably seen it. No, I've definitely seen it. So it's like, that's what I grow up on. So to see a show, a cartoon where there's music and it's good and it's enjoyable is awesome. And then I just loved, there's a love story in the show. Like there's a little romance. And it's from season 1. And I get to watch 5 seasons of it developing. And then there's a bunch of other like side stories, side romances that are awesome. Like, that's just, I'm total sucker for that. I loved it. It's a kid show, but it explores a lot of different things and it's always enjoyable. Like to me, it was never like not fun to watch. And because episodes are only 11 minutes, you can really like, as someone who binge watches stuff, I could really like enjoy it. And even the show's weakest episodes are held up by the fact they're 11 minutes. So it's like, it's not that bad and you get to keep going.
Yeah.
And as far as recommendability, I mean, everyone who's my friend, I've tried to get to watch the show. And my brother Isaiah, who Gary, is very like stubborn, hard-headed. He like, I tried so hard to get him to watch the show, and he just didn't want to. And that's still like my biggest failure in life because that show is awesome. And then speaking to the last point, which is actually one of my criteria, was content. Steven Universe did it right. 5 seasons of the show, followed by a movie, followed by a sequel series that takes place after the movie. That's what I'm talking about. And the second I finished that sequel series after the movie, I was like, where's the comic? Where's the follow-up? Where's the sequel to the sequel? Yeah. I need that junk right now. And like, it was a show that hit totally differently. Even BoJack Horseman, which I talked about a lot and stuff like that. I mean, Steven Universe I talked about a lot, but then I was like on Instagram looking at like fan art. I was seeing the Reddit fan art, and I was totally just like in. Even like weeks after the show, I was still like totally there. And to this day, I have songs from the soundtrack in my playlists. And it's like I can put on a song from the show and feel like I'm right there, like watching the episode. So it's just such a unique experience that for me, earns that spot at number 2.
Yeah. I just don't like musicals at all. Like, I guess I can tolerate it sparingly. And I do like one show that's like, I guess, considered musical. There's a song every episode. That's Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, and Steven Universe, it's not even every episode. So
it's not every episode?
Yeah.
Every episode I'd seen it had a song in it. I don't know. I just think, like, I hate musicals. I gotta say it. I don't think they're coming back. I don't think that they were ever here. Just, like, I've never seen Hamilton because I can't stand singing.
And Hamilton's amazing, by the way. Like,
I doubt that. I doubt that because I've heard people who dislike musicals as much as I dislike musicals, and they said it was just a musical. That's all it is.
No, they're wrong. They're wrong.
I just don't like musicals. Like,
I mean, I think if you look at all the awards it's won and all the like fame and success it had when it was running, if it was just a musical, it wouldn't have had, it wouldn't have been literally one of the most successful like musicals to ever hit Broadway and sell out as much as it did. And tour the world as many times. It wasn't just a musical. It was, I mean, it is a musical, but to say it's just a musical, that's purely like not right.
I mean, it is a musical. I mean, I don't like musicals. It's a musical. Just because it's the best of the thing that I don't like doesn't mean that
I'm just saying that's like, it's like saying BoJack Horseman is just a cartoon. Like it's disrespectful to like, whatever that thing is. Like, because it's not just a musical. I mean, one person could say, like, someone could say to me it was just a musical, but Hamilton was just objectively loved. So you can't you can't strip that away.
I'll saying you,
but no one can.
Yeah, I'll give it a watch. I just don't.
And you don't have to. Like, it's not for everyone. I'm just saying, like, it's objectively really good for like in its medium. Of course.
Yeah.
And real quick, I just want to say I harped on the music a lot, and you talked about like like, I guess just to people who haven't seen the show, I'm not saying it's like a musical and you could watch it as someone who doesn't enjoy music just for the story. And there's like, it's all there on all levels. This show like hits. As a cartoon, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
But I kind of talk to the music a lot because that's something that I personally enjoy, like a whole
Yeah.
bunch. But anyway, Garrett, your number 2
My
is your
number
turn.
2, Amazing World of Gumball. And yes, it does rank higher than BoJack Horseman.
Interesting.
And I don't know if it's a better show than BoJack Horseman, but it definitely does a better job at being a cartoon than BoJack
Yeah,
Horseman. It's just
yeah.
every joke hits. It's just nonstop hilarious. I can't watch an episode and it not at least wait. I can't watch an episode without laughing at least 3 times. Like, and they're what? I think they're like 11 minutes, right? They're 11-minute episodes.
They're short. I think so. Yeah, because it's like they do it where there's 2 short ones and they yeah.
And that's really impressive to fit tight jokes. Like 3 times, that's the lowest that I'll laugh at. Like I'll probably laugh 20 times in an episode. It's just joke after joke after joke, and they're not funny. And they press. They're like hard hitting. Like, is this a kids show? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd put it in the kids show category because some of the jokes are just like really edgy, even for adult shows, or not really adult shows, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. They make a good comparison I would say, like, the thing about Gumball that makes it so awesome is like, it's like you said, it's very tightly written.
Yeah.
And I think of like American Dad, Family Guy, the kind of staples, Futurama, but I haven't seen Futurama, so I can't speak to it. But American Dad and Family Guy I can speak to.
Yeah.
They also have the same amount of jokes per episode, but they don't get the same amount of laughs per episode, if you know what I mean. Like American Dad, you might get 1 laugh per episode. Gumball is able to do the same amount of jokes, but just execute better every time.
Yeah. I would definitely, I guess that's a good way to put it. Maybe not Family Guy so much, because that definitely fell off towards the end and is still going and falling down a huge flight of stairs. But
well, I guess what I mean is, like, if you watch an episode of Family Guy, every time there's like a fart joke or a boob joke or just some lame, like, whack adult humor, Gumball would have a joke there, but it's a quality joke that would at least make you smile.
Yeah, it at least gets a smile out of you. Because it's just like, I don't know. I started watching it when it first went on the air. And I know that it just recently went off the air. And I know one of the rules was you have to watch every episode. I'm not certain that I've seen every episode. I want to put that out there. I'm not certain that I've seen every episode. But I'm certain that I've seen most. Right? Because they threatened to end it like 3 different times. And I don't know which time they actually ended it.
Yeah.
But I've watched at least most episodes, and it's not just nostalgia either. It's just really, even going back and watching some of the episodes, it's just a hilarious show. There's no other way to put it. Yeah, I think the animation style is really cool too. And the origin story of it too, where it was supposed to be a cartoon of like cartoon character dropouts going to school and learning how to be better cartoons. That's why all the styles are all over the place. Like, it's in a live action school, but there's 3D animation, there's 8-bit animation, there's hand drawn stuff.
Eventually they show that anime inspiration, which I think for people like us who watch anime, it's just like they're doing it. I mean, it's such an amazing, matrimony of all things entertainment.
Yeah.
Gumball also has good songs. It's something a lot of people don't, but they're funny, but they're good for what they are. They're very catchy and stuff. I mean, it's like such a high tier show.
It is. It's,
once again, big on the excellent rating. Excellent.
Definitely.
Whatever that word is, it's back.
Right there on my screen, at least. It's my number to pick. Gumball, Amazing World of Gumball.
Yeah.
And now, I have SpongeBob in the back. However, that is not my number 1 pick.
Yeah.
I believe we have the same number 1 pick.
Yes. And the reason Garrett thinks we have the same number 1 pick is because we probably do. Because our number 1 pick it's not our number 1 pick. You have to understand. It's just the best.
It's like the number 1 pick.
Yeah. Like, it's like, if you watched it and you're, a good person, like, I don't even know how else to put it. Like, it's just going to be your number 1 pick, because I think obviously there's nostalgia factor for us.
Yeah.
But even regardless of that, you could totally strip away the nostalgia. It's like, I've rewatched this show like 6 times. Every time it stands the test of time. It doesn't get old. It doesn't get dry. It doesn't get boring. I've shown it to so many people. It's an experience in and of itself. And that show is Avatar: Last Airbender.
And every single watch is so refreshing. Like,
It is.
I'm watching it again after just watching it, which is a really bizarre experience to stop watching it, go to the end, and then go right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And you don't, like, I don't know if you realize this or if this has been talked about, but, like, the thing with Aang in The Storm, the episode The Storm, is he just experienced the things that he's talking about. And you can feel it in the way that he's talking. He just experienced that to him like a week ago.
Yeah.
Less.
Yeah, because literally it was like, he just goes to the iceberg, and then all of a sudden, here he is.
With Katara, and you're just like, whoa. Like, that really just happened for him. And when they're talking about what Zuko went through, you see Azula. Like, they show you Azula right there. And I never really noticed that because I just thought, oh, yeah, that's Azula. But rewatching it right after you just watched, it's like, wow, they had that much foresight.
Yeah.
Iroh bends the lightning through himself, and it's just like that. They had the foresight to bring in that. We're gonna do major spoilers for Avatar. We're about to nerd out, I feel. But I'm just like, it's so insane how much stuff they tied in just from that episode alone in future episodes.
I mean, it's such a. It stands. And initially I had it, my list was like a tie for number one was Avatar and Steven Universe. Yeah. But then I was like, let me not disrespect Avatar like that.
Yeah.
And don't get it twisted. That's my number two. Like, I love that show. I will preach that show all day. But Avatar really, it's its own tier. It's its own like beast. It's just so good. And something that Avatar kills is like you watch the first 3 episodes, you're in.
Yeah.
Like, you've been introduced to a majority of the major players of the early seasons. Like, you're in there. You know what's going on. You get the premise, and you're already swept up in the adventure. Like, it's already begun, literally. I mean, even in the first episode, like, you're just there. The humor, you see like the ship, and there's like this. You're like, there's this war, there's this conflict, and it's all there. You're this small. Like, he's at the. And what I love about it is the storyline grows. Everything about it grows. The characters get better. The jokes, everything grows, but it starts out so small in this tiny village in the Southern Water Tribe. There's like 10 people that in this whole tribe. I'm like 20. And it goes from that to where you get to see these kingdoms. You get to see war. You get to see conflict, loss, love, hatred, redemption. I mean, like, it's another level of television. Like, as far as shows go, like, this is easily in my top 3 shows as well. It's probably also my number 1, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Just because it's such another level. Like, and the thing is, like you said, it's refreshing to rewatch it. Like, you'll sit down and just be like, you know what? Let's just experience the beauty that is Avatar.
Yeah.
You want to talk about content? They're still making comics because it's so good. And there is a show that is after it. You can watch if you want to suffer through. As a true Avatar fan, I can't respect Korra's name, but it's an alright show.
I only watched 1.5 seasons of it. I can't speak for it. I'm not even gonna try. But Avatar.
Yeah.
Even if they never came out with anything else, even if they never came out with
even if there was no comics or anything.
No more Legend of Korra. Like, the live action series that's going to go on Netflix might be good, might be bad, we don't know. But if they never even made any of that, just let the show stand on its own, even then, spectacular. Like, I don't know if I can name an episode that I don't like.
Yeah. If there was one way to describe the show, if you had to describe it in one word, I would say unparalleled.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else on that level. And the thing about it is, it's like you said, like, you can't think of a bad episode. And I know my least favorite episode, as someone who's rewatched the show like 8 times, was Appa's Lost Days, which is just an episode which, what's going on is kind of in the name, but it's an episode that when you watch it with a first-time viewer, it's important for them, right? Like, I watched it with my mom, and for her, there's a suspense, and there's this like, oh, Appa, and it's like, when you watch it so many times, like, you've seen it. Like, I've literally watched the show where, like, I would finish the final episode last season, and then without even waiting, like go to season 1 and just press play. Like I did that
Yeah.
like when I was in middle school over the summer. So like at that time, like watching it again, I was like, oh dang it, like this episode. But the
Yeah.
thing is, I still watched the whole episode. That's something about Avatar because every
Yeah.
episode's so well done, you don't skip it. And even
Yeah.
even in Steven Universe, I skip episodes on my rewatch because season
Yeah.
1 of that show is admittedly kind of, you know,
Yeah.
gotta kind of stumble through it, especially if you're a first time viewer because you don't know about the payoff. With Avatar, you could watch you could literally probably write a paper on the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And something I wanted to say real quick is like Avatar got released on Netflix and brought in a bunch of new fan base,
Yeah.
I know that because like on YouTube, there's a guy who has like 200,000 subscribers, and all he does on his channel is react to Avatar: Last Airbender episodes. And he just started his channel like when it hit Netflix, essentially. Well, he's had a channel, and I literally looked on like this thing called Social Blade. It's like an analytics website. I was just curious. I was like, what is this dude's channel? He has like 10 videos before Avatar, none of which have any views. And then his channel just like he has millions of views and 200,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And all he did was watch the whole show all the way through and react to it, like live. Which I don't even know how he worked out the copyright of that or like the monetization, but he did it, so it had to work somehow. Maybe his channel's just not monetized. He's making money other ways, but he has this huge following on YouTube now, and all he did was watch the show. That's how good the show is.
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of like over 1 million people sit here with him to watch the episode and watch him watch the episode.
Yeah.
Like and they do it all the way through. I mean, he watched every episode of the show, and I'm like, that just shows. And on TikTok, if you look up hashtag Avatar Last Airbender, you're gonna see a bunch of TikTokers whose only content is just Avatar stuff. And people like that show was made years ago. People are still sitting here talking about. Do you guys remember that scene when?
Yeah.
Like it's still so relevant, and to this day, you could show it. You can you meet someone who's never seen it. You could be like, hey, let's watch Avatar, and like, boom, like done. Amazing cartoon, like, and they're not gonna be bored by it.
Incredible. I can't. I don't know if I mean, I don't want to say like we're sitting here just saying good things about it just because it's our favorite show, but I really I'll try and be as critical as I can of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've tried in a conversation to be as critical as I can of it. And it's just like, I find it very hard to say something bad about it.
Yeah, because there's just very little bad to say. Like at the end of the, like, what can you say? It's so good.
The first few episodes were a little rough on the animation. Yeah, maybe, but like, come on.
But it's a show. Yeah, but it's and this is something I now do for anime, especially. Yeah. Something you experience if you watch anime that aren't like big studio anime. Yeah. The animation early on is trash. The CGI for fights, oh my god. Ooh. Yeah. But the thing is, like Avatar could literally be sketches and it would still be amazing. It would still have its indie following just because of the story. Like it's all there. It's too compelling. It's too good. It's something I noticed when I rewatched it recently, now that I've become, way deeper into anime and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Is I was like, you could see like they were really already kind of starting to take inspiration from that Eastern style. Yeah. As far as like the really animated faces, like the face gets all big, it's like ooh, and like all that stuff. Yeah. That's something that wasn't even really that popular because anime wasn't that popular at that time. Like no one knew what the freak anime was unless you were like watching Dragon Ball Z on Toonami or something. Yeah. And those Nickelodeon did it. Like they found like what even is the show? What is the premise? The world building. It's all unique. Yeah. And it's also good. That's what's so cool about it to me. And that's why Legend of Korra can't, I think, ever measure up, is because there's nothing as satisfying as striking gold the first time. Yeah. And now you're just kind of like, let's take the gold and make it into a hat. And it's like, yeah, I don't want your gold hat. I want the original gold. Yeah. It's just it's disappointing. Well, I don't know if it's disappointing because the episodes of Korra that I've seen, they're not bad. I won't say it's a bad show. But it's just disappointing to kind of see it take a step down, even if it's still a good show. It's just not. I don't think anything that they do, even with this live action Netflix series, maybe if they make more animated stuff, the video games that they made, the comics that they made, I don't think any of it lives up to Avatar. I think it would be very hard for it to, because Avatar was such a gamble on their part. Like
what is this Eastern influence in our Western TV show with like influence from Buddhism, from like the Japanese era, like the World War II Japanese people.
Yeah.
It's just like the tribal. What even is this tribal culture?
Yeah.
What are
Like
you doing?
it's
Get this
such a
out.
unique world, and it's like, it's another level of storytelling, it's another level of world building, the humor, like it's all
Yeah,
just so there. And it's just a great show. Like
yeah,
even like I feel like almost every show, if you really love something, you could like see why people can hate it.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like with
yeah,
Steven Universe, I get why some people are like, oh my God, this show, because it's so, especially, well, the first season is so like cheesy and like, it's so kiddie. Like
yeah,
you really don't know, like, because people, you might have heard like the story's amazing and everything is so good. And you're like, where, bro? Like, that's what I was. I watched the first 4 episodes and literally stopped watching the show for months. So I was like, yeah, that's not going to be it for me. I
yeah,
just decided not to watch it. It wasn't until much later that I actually watched it through and understood what everyone was talking about.
yeah,
That's not going to happen with Avatar. Like, I've sat and tried to think about like how I just can't. Like, how could you hate the show unless you just objectively, like, unless you don't like cartoons or something,
yeah,
or unless you just don't like television? Because at the end of the day, it's just, if you tell me I don't like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I say, have you watched every episode? And you say yes, I'm just not gonna like. I'm not gonna be able to get you as a person, like on a human level. I'm gonna be like, who is this person? They're an enigma, because the show is just good.
yeah. I don't. I've known one person to dislike it, but even then they came around and they were just like, yeah, not as bad as I originally said. But it's just like I tried to get them to explain it and they couldn't.
Yeah. I think
Like,
some people like to hate on stuff just because it's like so good or so whatever.
yeah.
Or they just like, they're in denial to themselves. Like, I feel like that's how
Mm.
some people are with Steven Universe.
I, hey man, I tried to watch it. I
I wasn't
watched it.
attacking you. I was just
Oh
saying,
yeah,
like, there are people out there like who would be like Isaiah would be like something would happen on the episode, like jokes, and he would laugh or something. Like, when you laugh at a cartoon or at a TV show, that's something, because
yeah,
in this modern era, we scroll through like Instagram, TikTok, iFunny, whatever your like medium is. We see memes
yeah,
all the time. A meme is considered good if it makes you go like you breathe out through your nose hard or
yeah,
smile. Like, that's considered good. To laugh is to like actually like be moved by something, you know?
mhm,
And like Isaiah and I will sit there and watch American Dad for 3 hours and laugh twice. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then the rest of the time we're just like, heh, or like, ah, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind
yeah,
of like the experience where he was laying there on the couch trying so hard to ignore the show, watching, like, listening to Steven Universe, and he would laugh or chuckle or smile. And I was like,
mm, mm,
and he's just like, nah, dog, that's lame. And I'm like, bruh. Or like the music, the soundtrack is very, like, it's like you can see the aesthetic.
yeah,
In the same way that the only other show that I think does it at the level is Avatar.
yeah.
And,
Secret
you know,
Santa, Secret
because even
Santa.
like every episode, like that,
Yeah,
like Avatar soundtracks on that level as well.
yeah,
And it's like, but Steven Universe is right up there. I mean, just especially like the outro songs, the music, like it encompasses you. It makes you
yeah,
feel giddy. And like Isaiah is a person who doesn't smile much, like ever.
yeah,
Watching the Steven Universe, he'd always have like those,
mm,
but he just doesn't like it. He doesn't like to like. He was mad at the fact that the show is so like good, and I'm
yeah,
like positive. You know what I mean? Because it is a positive show. It's a happy show. And that's something that I think Avatar does. Once again, just better
yeah,
in the way that, and it can, because it's a more serious show.
mhm,
Like, in all the times where there could be hopelessness, Aang is never hopeless. He's
yeah,
always like that light. He's looking for light at the end of the tunnel. And how could he not, with like what he's been through? Like, he's
yeah.
such a mature character. And
And even
once
when he
again,
tries to, right before the serpents pass, he's just
yeah,
like, it conflicts him, like when he tries to be hopeless like that.
yeah,
He needs that hope to continue on,
yeah,
and he just realizes that letting go of hope is to his detriment.
yeah. And to aggressively have no spoilers, when I say redemption arc, there's a certain character that gets one. And I still
I
think
think
it's
I
one of
dropped
the.
a spoiler warning for Avatar, didn't
Oh,
I?
you did, but I just like, the point is this, like, we don't have to say the name because we know who
Yeah,
it is. But the
yeah,
redemption arc, like, so thorough. so aggressively good. It's like a perfectly cooked steak when you freaking like bite into the junk. You're like, oh, it's right in every way possible. That's how they did it. I mean, everything about Avatar just hits. Like,
Yeah.
but especially the way they do the characters. Like, you could do a character study on a lot of the characters, and all of their dispositions make sense. You know,
Yeah.
something I don't like in cartoons, and you see a lot more in kids shows. Characters will be bad for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is he the bad guy? Because I am. Like, they don't really try to explore it. It's just kind of like he's the antagonist of the show.
Yeah.
With Avatar, every antagonist you can understand, you can relate. Their
Yeah.
story makes sense. It's like I get why this person would be this way, and it's not really a show where there's a lot of like black and white, good and bad, because the Fire Nation, which is supposed to be like the bad guys, there are a lot of people from the Fire Nation who are good people and who are constantly forces of good in the show.
Yeah.
That let you see that it's not so simple. There's definitely a dichotomy going on, even in the most evil nation. And even I think with the Earth Kingdom, you see like corruption and political, tyranny in the way of like they have this kingdom and they have this like social hierarchy. Like the Fire Nation doesn't even have that. Now there is the distinction between like, a colonial versus someone from the mainland, but I'd say you see a much more even extreme parallel than that in the Earth Kingdom. When so it's like it's not a show where it's like the Fire Nation's bad, hate the Fire Nation for all 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You don't really see the Fire Nation until season 3 a lot. It's more like all the other nations, and you're like, all these nations have their problems.
Yeah. And I think before when we mentioned music, like that also ties into this theme where there is no black and white, because like look no further than Leaves from the Vine, with Iroh literally crying. It's just like they make every character so human.
Yeah.
Even Azula, like for the psychotic, crazy, like no anything, like no remorse or anything kind of character, they still strive to make her seem human when she gets spoilers, but major spoilers coming up right here. When she gets betrayed by May and Ty Lee, she goes insane. Like she just goes crazy. Her like entire mentality of just like this stone wall person just completely breaks down, and they even strive to make her human. And in the end, they even make the Fire Lord seem human. And it's just like,
because even
character has their
I think a great example, if you want to point out like how human Azula is like the episode where they're out there on the beach and stuff.
Yeah.
And you get to see her introspective side.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, she understands where she's at in her life. She understands her position, how callous she is, how all these things, but she doesn't want to change it because she's like, it makes sense. Like I'm the Fire Lord's daughter, like, and but she acknowledges, she sees everything about her character. It's just that she doesn't necessarily want to change it because she thinks it works.
Yeah.
And then of course later on, there's an unraveling, and then, there's all these like, I mean, the battle, we know which battle, red and blue colliding, like literally. I mean, come on, bro. Symbolism, like actually awesome animation as well.
Yeah. I mean, even like in the end, in a show that is kind of muddied by what's good and what's bad, like what's Ba Sing Se? What are you really defending? You're defending like this corrupt nation that's been dividing its people into classes and just, completely deriving all worth from these lower class people. But like in the end, they still, even though the water's muddy, they're still like, this is what's good, this is what's right. It's blue versus red, and in the end, good always wins. Like even if they did muddy the water with what's good and what's bad, you still got to come back to it, and you're just like, no, this is what's actually true in the end.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, we should probably go ahead and end the episode, because otherwise we'll just keep rambling about how the show is the GOAT forever.
Oh, we certainly will. We certainly would. But thank you for watching this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you didn't make it to this point if you haven't seen Avatar.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone. like that. But
And again, it gives you a bunch of little things to look forward to in the show.
yeah, so maybe if you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you have, you probably
Go watch it
do
again,
all the
bro.
things we said. Go watch it again. Yeah, but that has been our top 5 animated shows, respectively. So adios. Oh wait, no, not in the meeting. Stop recording the